There we go.
Colin said he was getting desperate, so he's listening to our whole back catalogue now. Walking the dog.
Well, you know what? He's actually
the fittest dog in Dubai.
he has said, I've learned so much about all you guys from listening to these podcasts.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? You do give quite a bit away.
Well, and if you listen to them all, I mean, you really, the best one is, one of the ones is Joey Woo, who features prominently because, you guys share that bond of being mechanics. Yeah. He put the wrenches away, although he's leaving them out clearly for me to come and do some developments on his vehicles.
Mods. Tasteful mods.
Tasteful mods, yeah. And he was listening to Doc Talk with Dr. Jenna, him and his daughter, and their accents were so bad I can't even put them on. But they sent me the WhatsApp of them trying to talk like Dr. Jenna.
To a Scouse, and Dr. Jenna hasn't got a proper, not full, thick Scouse accent.
Yeah.
She's well spoken.
I know, when she always says, "Oh, I'm Scouse," I'm going, really? You don't really sound.
Yeah, like the sort of the kind of stereotypical one that a comic would pick up on, have a go at.
Whereas Kev Fitzsimmons is a bit more Scouse than her, because he'll be talking and he'll just start using words, and at one point he's talking and I'm just letting him go, right? And I'm going, I'm really not quite sure if what you said, I mean, I know the words, but the way, and I had to clarify a few things with him. I said, so is it really a hotel, or is it, it's at the hotel, the gym, and I'm going, so is it kind of like a pub gym thing? Like, how does this actually work? And he said, oh, let me clarify. So there's some slang there.
Accents in the UK. Literally 30 miles from Liverpool, and you get to 30 miles. And that's like...
It's not very far.
I imagine in Canada, the neighbours that are 30 miles away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In some areas, it's such a vast landmass, right?
If you're not in a big city.
Well, you go from take the North of America as the United States, New York, California, completely different. But it's 4 hours on a plane or whatever it is. It's kind of acceptable that there's a different accent, right?
Yeah.
The weather's totally different, everything's different. Whereas you go from Liverpool 30 miles to Manchester and it's completely different.
See,
and then heaven forbid you go to the other side of the country and go to Hull.
Yeah, forget it.
I mean, it couldn't be more different. And it's like 3 hours in a car.
You see?
England's a bit weird like that.
One side of Montreal to the other side of Montreal, people sound the same. You go one part of Toronto, I mean, you have some accents from where people have immigrated from, but people sound the same pretty much in Ontario. They all kind of have an Ontario sound. Yeah. It's not like you head up to the Muskokas and they're all talking cottage talk and they've got a crazy accent. You get a little bit of a different variation when you head out to the East Coast. So Newfoundland and maybe a little bit Nova Scotia, but not. It's not like in the UK.
Do you know what it is? British people do not really, and I'm saying this as sat in Dubai, obviously, but on the whole, you have no need to travel.
Yeah.
It's just no desire.
Stay home.
It's like, got to tend to the crops today. If I go somewhere, I'm going to milk the cat. And it's just how it is. You know? To the point where my mum and stepdad have got to the point where they can go on holiday. You know, the dog died and the kids have all moved out, so they've got, they can go away without worrying about somebody coming around to look after a kid or a dog. But they'll go all inclusive to a resort and stay there, inside the walls of the hotel resort. So they'll travel 10 hours to Jamaica on a plane and then just stay in a resort and not go anywhere.
Keep talking, I want to make sure we're recording.
So it's just weird. I don't know. Accents is a strange one. It makes it very difficult when I imagine as a foreigner to the country travelling around, especially let's say you landed in Heathrow.
Yeah.
And then, you want to go and see
Dover.
The
cliffs
so
of
you're
Dover.
Going to go and see the White Cliffs of Dover, and then you want to go to Land's End in Cornwall. I mean, by all means, you're not going to understand a word down there. I mean, Cornwall's almost, they're kind of still on it, but they want to be separate.
Oh, really?
They want flag and there's that kind of. They're not not quite sort of the Basque, Spain thing, but they're on a similar sort of level. So if you're not from Cornwall, when you go to Cornwall, everything costs you more, and there's certain things you're not allowed to do.
Okay.
So, and it's quite
interesting.
It's quite obvious to you. We're not Cornish. Disappear. But it's very weird when you're talking about.
Is that Cornish pasties?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it. So it's
interesting.
Ridiculous. I don't know. There will be books written about it, and I don't. But it must be the fact that nobody left their little village.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Nobody, and we were just constantly getting raided, right? We were just constantly getting invaded.
The Vikings and this, and the Spanish,
Romans,
the French.
Vikings,
It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
Go. Yeah. So we just all stayed in our house on our little square of land, growing crops. And then all of a sudden you go to a market 20 miles away and no one can understand anyone, and just a fight breaks out.
Yeah.
And then 400 years later you've got football hooliganism over the exact same thing.
Just same thing.
So, what can you do?
There we go. And then we got Boris Johnson.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. When I was a kid, I was like, I shouldn't have been watching it, but my dad used to look after us on a Friday night, and there's a TV show called Have I Got News For You? It's an institution in the UK, and it's sort of the whole British take on, basically putting each other down and just being self-deprecating about the news of the week.
Yeah.
So you'd have all the headlines from all the tabloids and the broadsheets and the news shows, and then there'd be it's like a satirical show, sort of panels game show.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Boris Johnson was the funniest person on there that wasn't supposed to be a comedian. He was on there as a guest host a couple of times, and as a team member, as a politician. They always try and have a politician on, so that somebody was there for the butt of all the jokes. He's just the funniest guy, just such an idiot. And my dad, who wouldn't, he wouldn't waste urine on a conservative politician that was on fire, used to just sit there laughing at him because he was ridiculous.
And now he's the Prime Minister.
Now he's the first among equals in the British government, and it's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, what can you say?
I wasn't there, I didn't vote, obviously, but I don't know. And the thing is, like, has he done a bad job? Could anyone do a decent job? I mean...
You know what? Given the circumstances, he's done what he has to do. And there you go. That's all you can say.
And look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's in there. There'll always be someone who didn't want them.
Yeah.
We could be talking about anyone and have a positive or negative view, because everybody's got their own opinion.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Nothing, the world hasn't ended.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who's going to pay all these things back that they've been doing, but, for the minute, we're okay.
No, the next government.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about an advertisement that I've been driving by recently on Elkhill Road, Business Bay Crossing.
Okay.
That, honestly, it turns me off the vehicle.
Yeah.
So you're driving down, and there's a Jaguar advertisement for the new F-Pace.
Oh, the F-Pace.
And it shows the dash, the front seat and the dash.
That's right.
And every time I see that, all it says to me is, that's a car I'll never buy. Because I'm looking at this dash and I'm just going, it is so cluttered. It's so much old school on the steering wheel. I'm not quite sure what it's trying to show me, because I'm looking at this dash and I'm going, this looks like something out of like 1998. I mean, yeah, okay, sure, there's some little dials and things, but it is just such a mess of things that I get agitated.
Yeah, I get like that when I get in most Jaguars.
I'm thinking, this is not a positive ad.
I was watching Shazad Sheikh's Brown Car Guy's review. He's just reviewed the SVR F-Pace, which is like the 550 horsepower silly one.
Yeah.
Unnecessary, but great fun. And obviously he's taken aback by the power, and he likes the sound of it and everything, which, why not? That's what it's for, right?
Yeah.
But all the way through, I'm looking at it thinking, don't really appeal to me.
Who's that appealing to, do you think?
I know, and I think,
because they've done the research.
You can get the same engine and everything in the Range Rover.
Right, might as well just have a Range Rover.
Exactly. That's how I looked at it. And I don't, obviously it's each to their own, but we've said before with Jaguar, like, they just, you don't think of an SUV when you think Jaguar.
Yeah.
All the companies are guilty of doing it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're all doing it, and everyone's joined in, and that's just the way it is. Whatever. But it doesn't appeal to me. I think the one on there isn't it orange on the billboard as well, or some weird colour? I've driven past it.
I don't know if it's orange.
I can't remember the colour.
No, I don't think so.
I think that's not the most appealing colour.
That's the Skoda. The Skoda's the orange one.
But yeah, it's very.
Yeah. Like if you've listened to anything we've done on this podcast, or if you've listened to any of the old shows that we used to do on air, one of my big complaints about cars is steering wheels. And just the amount of, as soon as you have to look down at the steering wheel to figure out what button to press, you've defeated the purpose, because now you're taking your eyes off the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And it's just so cluttered. But on the other token, and this is kind of an interesting thing, this has got nothing to do with the F-Pace, I'm moving on. So it just bugs me.
Let's leave that behind.
Yeah, let's leave it, because there's nowhere to go. But this morning I was driving in over here to the Rove Hotel downtown, to the podcast studio. And it was one of those mornings, the first morning where I was driving and I was going, if my car was autonomous and doing this itself, I would not be complaining.
Yeah.
As I was making the way here, and I was just thinking of a million things. My mind wasn't really on the drive. And it was the first time ever where I said, what's the solution? Take a taxi. But if my vehicle was autonomously and I could just punch in, go to the Rove. And part of the reason for thinking that was, as I was about 3/4 of the way here, I kind of was going, hold on, where am I going? Because I'm driving and I'm looking around and I'm going, oh yeah, I know where I'm going, but where am I going exactly? Because, then you have to navigate exits.
Yeah, when you go all the way from Murdiff and on autopilot, and now you've kicked in and thought,
Just for a moment, I'm thinking, hold on. And it was at that moment that I thought, autonomous vehicle would be nice right now.
You know what though? What I know, and from where we are right now, so if we look out that window, you've got the lower level and upper level of the D71 or whatever it is. Yeah,
good luck, whatever. I have no idea what that road's called.
Now, if you want to get to Dubai Mall, the sat-nav will give you the directions, no problem.
Yeah.
But the upper level and lower level are above you from the satellite. So you don't know, and then you're on the upper level and it's saying, turn right. What?
I never thought about that.
There.
Oh man, that's a problem.
Autonomous cars are going to have a few little
that's something to really think about.
Details to figure out. And
a lot of the buildings we park in have multi-store car parks, so the sat-nav suddenly doesn't work.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. That's something that someone's not thought of.
I'm sure they thought about it.
They just thought they'd ignore it. It's what they've said is that's the anomaly. That's the 2%.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll leave sort of takeoff and landing like on a plane.
Yeah.
Takeoff and landing down to the pilot, but the rest of it autopilot.
Yeah. And that's what pilots always said. But what a boring. It's fun. It's great that you're flying and do it, but it's pretty boring most of the time. Yeah, which is always a good thing.
Like, you want them to be bored.
I want them to be bored.
Oh yeah, bored,
awake.
Out of their mind, bored. Yeah.
I want them to know what to do.
Yeah. But do you think they sometimes, just for a bit of fun, just like flick one of the engines off? See how long we can go. Fine.
No. I think they play, and I have no proof of this, and I'm just hypothesizing. I really don't. But I'm thinking when you have these long haul flights and you have the two crews and you got the other, so you'd have
LAX or something.
Yeah, two captains and a co-pilot. So you'd have 3 flight crew essentially. I think when one of the captains has gone to the back and they're having a nap, I think that's the point where the person says, I'm going to fly this thing manually.
Yeah.
And they when they start hitting a few things and a few air pockets, and that's when the guy in the back goes, oh.
The first officer's like, captains, no problem. You go and rest. I've got this.
And then you're flying, there's a little bit of a shudder.
Captain's laid there, why are we banking?
Yeah. And he's going, pulling back on the uniform.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was at AAA and I'd gone over to the branch in Mall.
Yeah.
Just behind the duty-free warehouse there.
Yeah.
The one you would have.
Yeah. That is where I used to take my car to.
Yeah. So I went.
They're still there, aren't they? I think so.
They've still got the yard, but they don't use it as a workshop.
Oh, really? So where do they do all their car stuff?
All in our coups now.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were there, and I'd been in the country a year, maybe 2. I don't know. Not really relevant, but there was the air show was on.
Right. When they did it right downtown.
It was brilliant because we were next to the runway.
Yeah.
So, you'd see them all, and then I remember them doing the stall on the 380, so the vertical with the 380, and then stall it, and then let the air forcing through the vanes of the engine, kick the engine back on again, and then fly it off, and man, that made a noise.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, if that's a regular pilot flying that, they must save up all their pilots must have to bungee jump every weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's literally take off. Okay. Look at everything. Most flights from here are a few hours. Like there's obviously but a lot of them are long haul. They must just sort of. What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, they must like flying to Manchester because. It must be 400 miles an hour crosswinds every. I mean, we've hit the. I always like to watch the screen.
Oh man.
Amy hates it. Turn it off, and I always like to watch it out of the front.
They're coming in sideways.
And it's sideways, yeah.
Then right at the last minute.
Yeah. And I like watching it, and that must be the sort of thing that a pilot loves. But
yeah, they get off there. They got a sweat on. It's like, we made it. We got that one down good.
But I mean, you want them to be bored, like you said.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I think that is probably a solution that we've stumbled upon there that will happen with autonomous, because you can't. It's going to be very, very difficult to get everyone on autonomous at the same time, which is the only way it can work.
Yeah.
I don't see how it can work anymore.
No, it can't. You got it. And it would almost be like I already see how they do it. I've got it in my head. So if I was coming from Murdiff, I've come out of Murdiff, I'm going down Tripoli, I'm driving, I'm making my way, and then I hit an autonomous gate where suddenly you've got, about 200 meters where your car is going to go from manual and it's going to transition into autonomous.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in the city limits, now we're in an autonomous zone.
Yeah.
And then when you're going to leave that, you're going to hit the gate, you're going to have another 300 meters, it's going to beep, 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 leave an autonomous zone. If you don't have your hands on the wheel and your foot on the pedal, it's going to pull over into the lay-by, and it's going to stop. Because
the thing that
I think I've just given them a whole bunch of ideas.
Yeah, and I think one of the benefits of doing that. So you think of all the traffic hotspots. So we come in down Al Qudra Road, and we have a huge roundabout on the D54.
Exactly what you're talking
which
about.
They'll definitely sort out with the flyover eventually. But at the moment, you're talking 6-7 minutes to get through that roundabout.
That's anger.
Yeah,
starts to generate.
definitely. I mean,
and people changing lanes.
So from where we are in Mira Oasis to the start of Sakim Road at the end of the Arabian Ranches, the small roundabouts, it's 20 minutes every morning. Like on a Saturday, I can be at work in 15.
Yeah.
But during the week, obviously, when it's busy, it's 20 minutes just to do a third of the journey, not even a third, maybe a quarter of it.
Yeah.
So if you had autonomous cars, then they would figure out a way where you wouldn't actually need traffic lights.
Well, sure, because all the roundabout would suddenly be this continuous thing where the cars would constantly be moving, so it would move through.
You've got multi-lanes, multi-exits on a roundabout, and now when we were taught to drive in the UK, if you're going left at a roundabout, and in the UK's case right, because we're on the other side of the road, you would start off on the very right-hand side, and gradually, with your signal right, gradually drift over. And as you got to the penultimate exit, you would turn off your signal and then turn the one for left to exit off.
There we go.
And you drift over to that. Now you can't do that here because the lanes are fixed.
Right.
But if you had a situation where you programmed where you were going and every car that was going left went in the left lane and every one car going straight was in the middle and everyone going right was in the right.
It would work.
And then you'd be able, and then if all of them used the same kind of Skynet system, whatever.
Which they would have. It would all be with RTA. It would all be right into RTA. Boom.
Then it could work out when to stop, when to go, and all the cars would be, you'd be talking, now for safety's sake, they'll do it within meters.
Yeah.
But they could do it within millimeters, and everybody would just in and out, and it'd just be no problem. The place that would benefit from that, from what I can think now, is like Paris, where it's give way to people coming on. Totally opposite to where everyone else does it in the world. You always see it's just a mess. Anytime you see it, it doesn't even matter if they close the road for a film, it's still a mess. There's just cars everywhere.
Yeah.
But like, it would stop congestion.
Sure.
You see it, to a certain degree, you see it with smart motorways. So they're much maligned in the UK by people that travel for work or they rep up and down the motorway. But the speed limit in the UK will be 70. That's the maximum you can go. there's no unlimited speed. So it's 70 is a maximum on a 2-lane or more carriageway. Bearing in mind 2 lanes is a major road in the UK. There's some major roads with 1 lane either way. So now they'll have a smart motorway has bridges across, like the announcement ones, and it will close lanes or it will open lanes. So it'll open the hard shoulder in heavy traffic. It will change the speed limit from 60, 50, 40, 30. And it does that even when there's no accident, because obviously the sort of stacking effect of brakes, the faster you go, the further it gets back.
Right.
You know, the first person brakes a little bit, the second more, third. And we all know that by the 10th or 15th car, you've got everyone stopped. If the speed's lower, there's less brake use and everyone moves rather than having big tailbacks. And that's all worked out autonomously, and it keeps traffic going. Now, if the cars are doing that themselves, then there shouldn't be.
No, it should be simple.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be cool.
But if everyone's on the same system, who pays the insurance bill when it goes wrong?
There's still going to be stuff.
Things going to go wrong.
Yeah,
right?
you're still going to have an insurance company, because someone's going to be in the grocery store. I saw it the other day. Someone's in a grocery store, and they've got the cart, and who knows how the thing started rolling, but it rolled right into a car, and I'm just going, oh. You know, so there's always going to be that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, those things are those things. I'm thinking more of on the road, right? So if everyone's using the same.
Because when you're outside of the autonomous zone, that's where the insurance is going to kick in. Because you're going to have autonomous zones and non-autonomous
But what
zones.
happens? So because we're going to have everyone in an autonomous car for it to work. You can't just say it's going to be cheaper for us to buy cars from the UK, so we're going to make everyone right-hand drive here. You'd have to do that on the same day.
Right.
I think they did that in Bahrain or something,
or Oman
they changed 40 years ago, and they just said, right, don't forget tomorrow you swap sides, right? And then everyone did. You couldn't do it half and half.
No, you'd have to.
Everyone has to do it, and I imagine the same with autonomous cars. You've got to do them all on the same day. But what stops me on a Friday morning thinking I really fancy a drive?
So I think it's gonna be like a Tesla Elon Musk scenario. So not with Teslas, but where all cars are equipped with that software. All cars are dialed into the mothership from all of these different automotive makers, and all the automotive makers will be connected to the larger scheme. So all of their systems connect in, and those automotive makers are going to flick the switch, and your car suddenly, boom, will be operating this way.
So on certain stretches of road, you can only be autonomous.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think it's going to be neat.
That would be the only way to do it, wouldn't it?
And you know how it really works well, because you've got Mr. Musk and all these little satellites that he's putting up, or the Amazon guys who got these satellites, and then you've even got areas where maybe it's a little bit problematic. Then you got the Amazon guys who got them on balloons, or Google does that too with balloons. So we'll be covered. So you could have quite large autonomous zones.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool.
And in theory, nobody would be able to drive a vehicle that wasn't insured.
No.
Or registered.
And it has to be insured and registered, because it has to be on the system. And if it's not on the system's going to hey, there's a vehicle on the road that's not on the system. It's going to send out the SWAT team to get it.
I like the idea that the road is just magnetic.
Yeah.
And it just clamps
cool.
the car. Can't move. You're done. You're done, mate. Doors closed, locked. Police are arriving.
Yeah. It's like Terminator, that.
So then what do you do when you want to go and have a drive?
Well, you're done for. Well, then you're going to have driving parks. So what you're going to have is, you know how you have...
Like dog parks.
Like dog parks.
You take the car to the park.
You're going to have a 100-acre area that's got roads in it, and you can take your car, and kind of like going to the game reserves in South Africa and that.
So if this was a...
So you get the Kruger Park where you can go and drive.
If this was and you're talking to the brokest man in Dubai, but if this was an investments program, the advice we would give is people buy land and turn it into vehicle leisure parks.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm actually not quite, I'm quite unsure now, because people do like to go out and dune bash and all that.
Yeah.
But there's a segment of people who just want to kind of do some obstacle coursing with their car.
Some people just like to drive down a country lane with the windows open though.
So create an area where you can just go drive. But also, I don't know why we don't see, especially here with all the 4x4s and all that, a supervised obstacle course that you can go. I mean, I know they put them up every now and then.
Yeah, there's some of the off-road experiences that do stuff kind of like that.
Why isn't there one that's like set up? Like it's got all the stuff and you come in and they...
Yeah, you can take the kids to a trampoline park. Yeah. Why can't you take your car to somewhere?
And so then, you know, and you have the trampoline park there, and then, hey, Dad and Mom can go and do the obstacle course in the car, and they've got people watching it so that they know, hey, you're coming in, oh, whoa, you're going to go, you know, and they give you a little, so it gives you a little bit of lessons, but also lets you see what your car can do, and you have some fun. Muddy it up a little bit. Get it stuck. They got the tow truck there to pull you out of the mud pit.
Like it. Your
card's there because you're going to have to go get your car fixed after you've, you know, buried the exhaust system and sucked in stuff, so it's... I think there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, so buy.
Buy land.
Yeah.
A quick question. BMW X5, no, you're a big fan. I saw one today, and this was actually after I was sitting at a set of lights and there's a child in the back seat of a Pajero looking over at me in the yellow Jeep going, wish I was in your car.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at an X5, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, it's got the badge on it, it says BMW, but I'm looking at it going, is that a Volkswagen? Like I truly was looking at this thing going, no, that's not really a BMW. That's someone who's played a funny and put a BMW badge on a Volkswagen. And then I'm looking at it, I'm going, no, it really is a Beamer. But it really does look like a Volkswagen to me. I was really taken aback.
Well, look,
we've had this discussion a lot.
We've said that, you know, a lot of cars just all look samey.
Yeah.
The thing with BMW that I've always found, and look, I don't say this that no other companies are guilty of it, but BMW has always been kind of a premium brand.
Right.
Unless it's their kind of high-end spec of a car, they look very ordinary.
They do. And
but not in the understated, cool way. Just in the kind of, your wheels are too small, and...
Yeah. Like, why are you making this car?
Yeah. Like the X1.
I don't know about that one. It's got a weird design too.
Absolute abomination.
Like, why? What is that thing?
Who needs it?
I don't know, but there's a few people around where I live who that's what they drive, and every time I see them, I kind of shake my head. I'm going, really? Like, I want to go over and say, why did you buy this car? Like, what was going on in your head? What do you love about it?
Do you think they have focus groups?
They must.
Do they? Or are they just arrogant enough to think, there's a 5, there's a 7 now, we've got a 3, let's do a 1?
Maybe. Well, they were probably thinking, oh, we want to get people on the low end of the market and it's got a badge on it. Everyone loves our badge. I don't know.
I don't think they could have a focus group for that. Surely not. Do you honestly think, right, I'm going to type it. I apologise to my search history. I'm going to type it into their images.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And it's like...
Yeah, everyone's got to go to your computer, go to your phone right now. And
even the press shots for it where they want it to look nice. I mean, and you can see clearly that the ones that they're showing are like the top fully loaded spec. They don't...
I'm not sure. Is it a station wagon?
I know.
A state wagon? Is it a hatchback?
It's really weird.
What is this thing? And I never see the fully spec'd versions. I only see versions that are wanting.
See, I saw I'm obviously a VW guy. I saw a Tiguan this morning, and it was a base model one in like that awful metallic brown that they do. And the wheels didn't fill the arches, and it was too much. There was too much clearance between the wheels and the arches, and it was just like, why? Yeah. But it's a VW. It's a people's car. Yeah. You know, even the hot stuff they do is understated. This is a BMW. Like, and you see, I mean, when there's one come up here, that's exactly what it is. Like one of the early ones, they were like always white with black bumpers. It just made them look worse.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's the classic.
Yeah. I just don't understand what it's for. I don't understand what it's for. I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know. Yeah. Like, obviously, you'd assume being the X1, it's the off-road version, so it should be 4x4.
No.
You're not taking that off-road, are you?
You're not going anywhere off-road with that. That's a car. That is, you don't even want to take it onto the sand.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, there's one here painted in grey, and the new current model they've painted in grey, which everybody does grey now. Yeah. Just like, 10 years ago, everyone was doing white. And it's like, that's not saving it.
No.
I just don't get it. And the X5's, I've said it to a couple of customers actually this week. We had 3 X5s in at one point, all on the lift. So
wow. Are they all for the same thing or different things?
2 of them for the same thing. Yeah, turbos.
Really? Turbos just seized?
They're very, very poor on oil consumption.
Oh.
And part of it is just down to the service intervals. They're just too long.
Okay.
Way, way too long. And they don't like it. People forget the turbo's spinning thousands of times a minute. Thousands of times a minute, all the time. Pretty much. And they're right at the top of the engine.
Okay.
So the hardest part for them to get oil to. And they really, really can't do without oil.
So they need to be lubricated because you got that fan in there that's just turning.
Some of the VWs are doing like 18,000 on a service interval. That's way too much. Way too much. But yeah, I just sort of joked to a couple of people this week, and it was like one guy had brought a X-Trail in.
Okay.
And I said, look, if all my customers had X-Trails, I'd be out of business. Yeah. If all my customers had X5s, I'd never have to work a day in my life again after about 5 years. And it's a shame because they drive okay. And that 4.8 twin turbo engine is ridiculous. The power in it is fantastic.
Yeah. So you got 2 turbos.
But you're frightened. You're frightened of driving it. I mean, I've had 2 that were fixed and 1 that didn't get fixed of those 4.8 twin turbos, where the pistons have stretched the bolts on the conrod around the crank and gone proud of the block.
Really?
And smashed into the head.
Oh, that's a lot.
And I don't see that many.
That's a lot of power.
I've had 3.
So, that is, you don't see that many. You've had 3. That is not a good track record.
No. Now, I don't know from BMW's point of view whether I've just done, and hey, who knows? Yeah. You could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the lottery. These things happen, but I'm sure there's others out there. Yeah. And I'm sure BMW addressed it, and anyone that's been under the BMW umbrella for the servicing and repairs probably had technical bulletins and had that repaired and rectified. Audi and VW were doing piston ring replacements on some of their engines as a technical bulletin. So these things happen.
Right.
But
you would think if someone had a vehicle and they owned it, they'd be getting a phone call from...
That's the kind of thing that I would class as needing to get back to people.
Yeah, for sure. So that's pretty scary, but that's a lot of power. So the folks who had the turbos that weren't working, they decided just to go without it?
So we've got, no. So one of them, we had to remove both turbos and repair them. So we changed the cores and the bushes on the inside, put the old housings back on, put them back on the car, so they weren't consuming oil. And then the second one, the actual housing of the turbo had failed, so it's ended up needing a new turbo.
Yikes.
Yeah, which isn't cheap.
Oh, I could imagine.
So we repair a lot of turbos. We do, and it's not something that's unique to BMW. Just so happens we've got 2 in. The problem is with that car is so phenomenally powerful and effortless as well. Because it's just effortless.
Yeah, you put your foot on the gas and you're going.
It's like
a rocket.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why people like owning them.
That's why and you drive them like that.
Yeah. Well, you see people in them and they're just like gone.
Green lights flashing.
I can do it.
400 horsepower later, you're gone. And it's a really, really, really great engine. Yeah. It's a lot of it is just down to they get stretched a bit too far in the service interval from the factory. I've had similar conversations with Colin about his crafter vans and stuff, and the Sprinters that he's got now about with the turbo engines. It's not great to go to the 15. Yeah. And I understand the reasoning behind, from that example of VW's desire to show 15,000 kilometres. Yeah. It all works into the cost of ownership, which makes the car seem, the van in that case, seem a better option. But it's real world time and it ain't worth it. And if you get onto it from day one, it makes a huge, huge difference. Huge difference. And it's only using the cars that really damages the oil. We've got cars that do very little kilometres, classics, that will sit all summer, and we'll change the oil before they get put away, and then we'll change the oil before they get taken out, and the oil just comes out clean. Yeah. but we take it and change it because we don't want any moisture in there and any of the carbon that it might have broken up inside the sump while it's been sat in the sump. Get it out, put new oil in it, and it comes out clean. And we put new oil in, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah. And that's how much does that cost you? Nothing. Under 100 dirhams.
A few hundred dirhams with a filter and a bit, and check the rest of the car while it's in.
Yeah,
you know,
easy.
So if everyone had an X5, I'd be pulling my hair out.
I like the idea of that big engine though. Like I really.
Yeah.
I mean, when you need it, you've got it, and otherwise you just drive it normally. And
this isn't even an M.
Yeah.
You know, the M1's even more. Like
that's insane. I've seen I actually saw a couple of M's this week, and one of them had it had the trim package as well, and that one didn't look like a Volkswagen. That one just looked.
This is my point, right? They do a good job of the good stuff.
Yeah.
Of the top end stuff.
Yeah.
The rest of it's just a bit there.
Yeah. But that M.
Yeah.
You want that? I think that if I'm owning a BMW, I'm getting the M.
Yeah.
M Sport.
See, the problem is now everything's the M Sport package, which is just bigger brakes and 20 more horsepower or whatever it is on everything. But it makes them look good.
Yeah.
And I suppose, in a way, from a purely marketing point of view, in the region we're in, it's not a bad upsell, is it?
No.
Make the cars look crap.
Yeah.
But you can have the M package.
Yeah, there we go. Well,
same with the Passat, right? So Joey's got the Passat.
So this is kind of fun because he's going to review it, but it's interesting because and I keep you up to date, so I forward you. He's really big into warming up his lunch using the dashes.
It's genius, though, yeah.
He's got him sitting on top of the. It's still a little cool back home, but not that cool. I think it was up to 15 degrees centigrade the other day, which is summer. My one son's going, shorts weather, Dad. Patios are opening, people are out. And what's Joey got? He's got a bacon sandwich on the dash, or whatever he had. He had pancakes, I think. He said pancakes and something. And he's got his Tupperware container, glass container, sitting on top of the defroster.
Yeah, genius.
Warming up his lunch for his hour drive.
Genius, I like it. The cup holders are right on top of the vents now on the dashboard. So if you're blowing hot because it's hot, you can warm a drink or keep a drink warm. If you're blowing cold because it's cold, you can keep a drink cold.
What a great idea.
Just smart, right?
Yeah, someone was thinking.
Yeah.
So he's got the Passat, he's happy, but it's another case of rental companies and your manufacturers not thinking. The rental company cut them a deal to get a fully spec'd car, something that's got all the toys, because people are going to drive these cars, they're going to make an assessment of it, they're going to talk to their friends, and they're going to decide, I'm going to buy that car, or no, I'm not going to buy that car. And so he hasn't really given it a good look around. He's going to give us a review. But what was his big complaint? And I think he's gone soft, quite frankly. I really think he's gone soft. It's like, of all the complaints, he's not complaining about, it's relatively comfortable. He's not complaining about this. It doesn't have all the specs. He's got, it's got the nice little badge on it, blah, blah, blah. He's going on.
We've talked about it before, though, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's a big deal when you drive a car a lot.
Well, his complaint is the lane change assist mechanism is not activated on his model of car. He likes the lane change stuff. It's not there.
It works good on those as well when it's there.
Yeah.
It does work good on those.
And he's just at the spec level a little bit below, so it's not active. And he's going, for him, that's a game changer. He says, it doesn't have lane assist. He says, even the Mazda X3 had lane assist.
Yeah.
Or whatever the Mazda 3.
Mazda 3, yeah.
Mazda 3. It had lane assist. He didn't like it, or he had some issues with it, but it still had lane assist. He's now driving the Passat, no lane assist. He's going,
we had a sales manager at VW when I was there, and he spec'd a Tiguan, like 2009 sort of time, 2008-9, and he spec'd it. They were relatively new at the time. It was like the new SUV, and he spec'd it with a rear view camera,
okay,
but no parking sensors. So you've got nothing.
Yeah.
So you've got a camera that will just show you the middle of the car, but nothing at the side.
Yeah.
And you've got no idea how close you are to anything. And you can't, therefore, look at the screen because you have to look back.
Yeah.
So the camera's of no use.
So what's the point of having the camera?
Yeah. And then to get onto the Jetta, which is something I was going to mention, so the same sales manager had a salesman. He was there a couple of years at most, and they decided to go and do something else. He was reversing, so we had obviously VW standard big glass front.
Oh no!
big glass front on the showroom with huge sliding doors to drive your cars in and out, and they get covered up, ribbon over them.
Yeah.
PDI'd a brand new Jetta. I fitted parking sensors to it as a retrofit, as an upsell. Really nice, clean job, VW kit, straight in, on the can, everything in nicely. Went into the valet bay, they prepped it, everything was done. He drove it round, now it was a rainy day. He drove it round, and he's driving round, and then to reverse it into the showroom. He didn't get out the car to open the door before reversing it into the showroom. Parking sensors, I've just fitted them. I know they worked. Just drove into the glass door, smashed the showroom door. And then this is a huge door. You thousands of pounds of repairs on a rainy day. It's always rained in England. And just reversed this car. The customers are on the way for it. Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like.
What's that?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's, I mean, all right, it sounds crazy to say it now, but parking sensors is basic.
Yeah.
Kids figure out what parking sensors do. My kids panic.
Yeah.
The beep starts to become just a beep. It's like, stop, Daddy. They know, and I've never said to them that's what they're doing. They figure it out. It's just intuitive, and that's why there's such a great idea on cars.
Yeah.
Just keep going. It's not. It's just the rain. It's just the rain. I've opened the door. Of course I have. Oh, man. So, you know.
Are they still selling Jettas?
Well, yeah. The Jetta, when we got introduced to Jetta,
I never see them anymore.
They went to North America first.
Right. They were popular.
The last one. They were popular in North America, and this is why they got them first. But the one we got was a North American one, so it was left-hand drive and everything, and it was down in the training facility. And then they brought it into the sales for their product launch, because they were like, it's going to sell thousands, it's going to be really popular, we'll get to the dealers rather than them come to us. And the guy from VW was like, look around it, get to know it, don't go into it thinking it's a Golf with a boot, you know, even though it is. Have a look around it and get to know it. It is the lowest spec of a car I have ever seen come out of a VW factory, seriously. Like, we still got cars that had come in with the Blaupunkt stereos in, which were bought without a stereo, and then we would fit one retrofit.
Okay. All right.
Because some of the VWs were sold without stereos, you had to spec them on. Okay. And we still saw some of the old ones from the 80s and 70s that were like that. This was awful. The hinges had no covering over them.
Oh no. The
tailgate, and so the boot lid, as we'd call it, there was like the thinnest piece of material like over the latch mechanism, and just zero sound deadening. It didn't sound like a VW when you shut it.
Really?
The doors were just really light, and they didn't close right. All the fittings were really hard plastic. The VW guy said, look, in North America, a VW is a VW. So it's no frills, needs to get A to B, and this is what the North American market expects from a VW, and this is what's sold like hotcakes. We're getting this car to all the dealers because they're going to sell like hotcakes in the UK.
No.
Now the Mark V Golf, the Jetta that was out for that one, so sort of 2006 to 2007 or 8, brilliant, really good. Yeah. Came out a lot later than the Golf did.
So they learned.
Same spec, everything was great on it. Yeah. Really, really nice car. Really nice car. It was a Golf with a boot on, which the Golf was a great car. But this Jetta just didn't feel right. Just wasn't, and it's weird. So, you know, I suppose we started off talking about accents, right? It's weird how cars are different for different regions of the world, where you'd think everybody wants a comfortable seat. Everybody wants the door to close and it not rattle the glass inside and just sound like a VW. Everybody wants that, right?
Yeah.
But it's not true. It's not true. When you said that Joey had got the Passat, I had a look. It's something like the 7th, 8th or 9th highest selling car in the world ever, like 15.5 million of them. I mean, the Corolla's done 35.5. I think the Golf is next with 25.5. So that's a huge gap between the Golf and the Corolla. But something like 15.5 million of these Passats have been sold worldwide. So there's something there, right? Obviously people like them, and they are great cars. But I know there's a couple of things that I've had feedback on from, I've never owned one, but obviously worked on a lot of them. driven a lot of them, but feedback I've had from people, one is that people don't appreciate, people that maybe never had the Passats before, been attracted by the newer models that look really smart. They don't like the little clock on the dashboard in the middle. They think it looks old-fashioned.
Right.
It's just one of those traditional, it's like a golf ball gear knob on the GTI. It's just one of those things that will never go. But also the fact that they're very sort of grey inside. Nothing shouts out
you're true.
special, you know, like, and I think, look at the Volvo S90, which is put in that Passat category. You get in there and it's like, screen.
Yeah, that giant.
Turn to start, roll to change the suspension settings if it's got that spec, done. Everything else is on the screen, touch screen, you can learn it on your own, don't need a manual, self-intuitive. Big steering wheel, because that was a huge step up. So like that's in the XC90 as well, which the previous XC90 had awful brown massive buttons everywhere.
Yeah,
that were huge.
Yeah, that turned people off.
It was horrible. Yeah, a good car, but it was horrible. But the new one, wow. But the Passat hasn't really gone that way. It's stuck to kind of, obviously the infotainment's quite big screen now and everything is getting towards it, but there's still that kind of itchy material on the seat and. But it's, again, North American spec, it's so strange that just over the Atlantic and it's different expectations.
Just different expectations, yeah. So looking forward to his review.
Yeah.
What he says about it. So he has been driving it, so he's starting to think a little bit.
I think he'll be converted. I think he'll never have a General Motors vehicle again. It'll all be about the VW.
He was a Rabbit guy. One of his first, I think it might have been his first car, was a powder blue Volkswagen Rabbit.
Love it.
With black tinted out windows.
One acceptable piece of chrome is a Rabbit badge.
I wonder if we have any pictures of that somewhere. Powder blue Rabbit with the GTI rims on it.
Nice.
So everyone knows what we're talking about with those. And it was quite the machine.
Great car.
Yeah.
Great car.
I don't know the mods he'd put on it with, I don't know, some extra fan stuff or something. There was switches for lights somewhere.
He put a 6.2 Chevy V8 in it. L99 or whatever it is, straight in there.
He did have a Regal there for a while, so that was, that was Plushmobile.
Yeah, you tell you what though, talking about that, a friend of mine has got a Camaro with the 6.2, and we were talking yesterday. No matter what you do in that car, it's always trying to kill you. Doesn't matter what you do. He's got 20-inch wheels on it to try and reduce a bit of the wheel spin, to slow it down a little bit as much as he can with acceleration.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Impossible. Impossible. And then you go out in like a German car with the traction control off, and you can't get it to do anything, and that's got traction control on.
It still doesn't want to do
it. Just donutting out of junctions in it. Ridiculous.
That's the kind of car you want. It keeps you on your toes. You won't be tired driving that car.
I guess that's why they're okay with lower spec on a normal car like a Passat or a Jetta, right? Because, well, we've got the V8 at home.
Yeah, this is the commuter car,
which has got a 3-piece suite in it. In the front, there's like 9 people sat across the width of this thing.
See, that's my idea of a great car. Bring back the bench seat.
Yeah, well, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Look at all the sort of future camper vans that they've got slated. Like they're not gonna call it the Buzz, hopefully, but the VW camper van. It's got like the sort of chessboard layout modular seats, just 4 individual seats. Yeah. There's no bench or bed or anything in it. Yeah. That'll be like a $20,000 extra. Yeah. Do you want a bed? Yeah, $20,000.
$20,000. Yeah.
Do you want an oven that can run off the battery? Yeah, $400,000. But you can charge it for free. Nice one. Thanks, guys.
I posted a link in about the Kia and their new design philosophy. Did you know they have a new design philosophy?
Didn't know they had one in the first place. They just nick someone from Audi and make the cars look nice.
Yeah, so they, especially with the EV6, was designed under the brand's new, and I'm looking at the pictures of the EV6. I mean,
they don't mess about these days, do they?
But their design philosophy, opposites united.
Sorry?
Yeah. Inspired from the contrasts found in nature and humanity. At the center of the new design philosophy is a new visual identity, evoking positive forces and neutral energy. Oh, sorry, natural energy. With contrasting combinations of sharp stylistic elements and sculptural shapes.
I'm just going to say one thing, right?
Opposites united.
I'm not going to say that. You'll never get me saying that. If you you put your hand over the front end of it.
Yeah.
You can't see any of the badges.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this white one on the Kia website.
Yeah.
Or whatever, Motor Authority, sorry. That's a Lamborghini Urus.
It is, I know.
That's not bad for a Kia, is it?
No.
Talk about aspirational.
Look at the backside, same thing. You start looking at it, it's like...
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not a bad car to be inspired by.
Yeah.
I mean, Kia, they just don't mess about with how the cars look these days. They genuinely don't mess about. I was watching some old Top Gear from the UK the other night, and I'd got like a couple of hours, and it was sort of 2002, and they were talking about a Hyundai something being £1,000 more than the Kia equivalent. Yeah. And asking the sales executive, why is it £1,000 more? And the sales executive saying, well, you're paying for the name. And then just laughing about it. Like, it's a Hyundai, don't joke. It's the worst. Yeah. And they've come on from there. Yeah. I mean, 20 years later, not even 20 years. I mean, look inside that thing.
I know, it's incredible.
I don't like the new Kia writing on the steering wheel. That looks a bit stupid.
Yeah.
But look at it.
I know, you're looking at this car and you're going, really? EV6, check it out online.
Because that's going to be like, that'll be Kia money as well.
Yeah.
That will be, I mean, they've just taken the buttons off of a Sportage though, on the left-hand side of the dash there. I mean, that's just obviously just photoshopped wrong. But, I mean, look at it. It's not bad at all. So I've found it on Motor Authority. I searched Kia EV6 and it come up on Motor Authority.
Heck, you just go to Kia and you can see it.
Yeah, you'll see it on Kia as well, yeah. It's a great looking car, to be fair. But that's so the Lamborghini Urus at the back.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
And it's a little bit of the Nissan Kicks with the back seat, the way it looks with those, the way the roof goes down, or the Evoque. It's kind of got an Evoque sort of, if you look from the top, halfway up the doors.
They've really started to, everyone's embraced the Porsche backlights now.
Now here's an interesting one. Talking about interiors of cars, I was sitting beside the Panamera. I parked beside a Panamera, Panamera 6 maybe? Panamera 4? Do they have numbers on the back of them like that?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So it'll be there'll be a Panamera S, a GTS, Turbo, there'll be...
All right, so maybe, I don't know which one it was. But I look inside, because I'm thinking, oh, it's kind of cool. It's got some matte finish on it, which is kind of weird. But so I'm parked right beside it, and I'm in the old Wrangler. That's right, this is today, this is right now. I'll have to look and see if it's still there. I look in the window thinking, oh, okay, I'm just gonna take a little look in. And I was so disappointed. I'm thinking the person who owns this car must be disappointed because all of the little button things on the center console just look like plasticky pieces from like the Lego store. And I want my Lego to look plasticky, but I don't want my Porsche to look plasticky. So I just thought, wow, this person must really be unhappy with this vehicle.
Yeah, you see, the thing is with it, so we got the GTS in a couple of weeks ago, and I sort of sent you the video saying, why did they ever make the back end of this car look like that? And the problem is that they are so well kitted out and so comfortable and rockets that people get inside them and forget what it looks like on the outside and just buy them. Because
they're holding onto it for dear life, so they don't have a chance to look around. It's a Panamera 6, that's what I'm looking at. And I was surprised. I mean, I'm thinking that's not a cheap vehicle. Those little details, I would have thought the Porsche folks would have really gone to town and created some...
The interiors of the Porsche now are very, very busy. I think that...
Well, it's like the F-Pace.
Yeah. There's sort of like the whole pilot thing. Yeah. Like it's just loads of switches everywhere. And I mean, I'm not being in the current one, which is a very nice looking car to be fair, but the old outgoing one was, they had like, and all the Porsches, the Cayman, the Cayenne, all of them were all the same, but they had like the button for what you wanted, and then a little chrome trim that went around the bottom of it with an LED in it that would light up when you press that button. Right. But it was closer to the writing of the button below. So it was just, from an intuitive perspective, like we've been saying about these touch screens and stuff like that, it wasn't the easiest thing to get used to when first time use. So yeah, the interior on them is very, very busy, very cluttered around there. But I'm assuming, again, with the Jaguar, it's probably right. It's aimed at people who are kind of at that might be. I mean, how old are you going to be, really, mostly, when you can afford to buy one of those? You're talking 50s, most kids have left, and you've got the money to buy the car. Well, maybe you want all the switches and dials, because that's what cars are like when you were that sort of 20, 30 age. Maybe that's what it is. But they're not. They're very, very busy inside. There's way too many switches. Yeah.
Anything else going on at the old PowerWorks HQ these days?
Got some transporter hearses in.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, transporters that were designed to carry 2 coffins.
Interesting.
Yeah, 0 miles. A bit of a legal battle over them, and then they finally arrived, and we've got them in to get them roadworthy after being sat in the desert for 13 years. Yeah, so all just bread and butter stuff, just like servicing and
now's the time to do that. It's starting to get warm. We've had a little bit of respite, but have you noticed it seems every Friday it hits up into the high 30s?
Yeah, it was like 40 again.
Yeah, and then during the week, it's back down to nice temperature.
Which is fine by me.
Yeah, and then weekend, back up to the high 30s.
Yeah, and the weekend I can stay in the house. The week I have to be in the workshop, so keep it as cold as you can.
This is time to get your car out there, time to start thinking about things, and start thinking about the car covers. I'm a total convert now to car covers.
I always tell people, if you can get the reflective type sunscreen and put them on the outside of the windscreen, you'll save your AC. A lot of aggro getting your car. If you can't park it in the shade, get it on the outside of the screen and try and stop the screen getting as hot as it will be.
That's a good idea.
That's what I always tell people to do. Tint the windows to a safe level of about 30 degrees on the back and the rest of the car. But obviously you can't do the front one, that's unsafe, but if you can get the reflective type covers that will go over the front of the screen rather than on the inside, that'll save the glass getting as hot as it does, and it'll help no end. Yeah, with the old some of the old VWs, they used to have when you had the AC on, they'd have like a sunlight sensor on the dashboard. A lot of cars still use it, but it was a sunlight sensor, and that was to detect, basically to figure out how hot the windscreen was, basically. So there's a vent on the top of the dashboard that just blew onto the screen, even if it wasn't the one to clear the screen at the base. It was in the middle at the top, and it would basically be there to cool the screen down. Because obviously, if you're blowing cold or blowing air in and it's cooling down in the AC system and then coming out the vents, if the dashboard's hot, it's getting warm by the time it gets out the vent. So this would try to vent the dashboard and blow up and cool down as much as it could so that the air was going through cooler. But even that, it's not good enough. You cannot touch the windscreen sometimes.
That's a good thing. Start looking now on your Amazon to get your screen protectors for when you're parked.
$5 or whatever.
The ones that are out on the outside. Put it on the outside.
Put it on the outside and try and close the doors on it.
Yeah.
Or even just get a bungee cord that can hook onto either end and put it through the inside of the car just to hold it over the screen.
There we go. Tip of the day.